Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases. Hello, everyone. Glad you're able to join us tonight. A little bit different format tonight. It's kind of a, with it being election day and everything, and we have the trial ongoing in Delphi regarding justice for Abby and Libby. And while all the defense is presenting their side of the case regarding Richard Allen, I was looking at it and trying to come up with and thinking about some of the issues and about are we ready for for the presentation to the jury of as this trial winds down, what the verdict may be, and if you have a certain fact or that you believe will lead the jury to either a guilty or not guilty or a hung jury. If there's some fact out there you have, just throw it in the chat at what that one piece of evidence is. Have they proven the case? Has the state lived up to the burden of them being able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Richard Allen is the one that's responsible? Not solely responsible, or just, did he play a part or role in the in this double homicide? And as I've looked at the evidence over the years, and we've looked at this case for since I first started my channel, and this is the case that actually got me started due to Randy Gravett YouTube channel, and speaking with him, and then doing some shows with some of his friends is what got me started, interested into the web sleuth world, and what led me to become a ambassador for law enforcement. And so I've been with this case since way back, at least that's what probably going on now 3 years, and learned a lot about it. Went to the crime scene, seen a lot about it. But as I've listened to or seen the reporting, which we owe a lot to all these YouTube channels that are going to the courtrooms and trying to keep us as updated with as accurate information as they can. And even within that information, there's moments of unclarity of exactly what was said, when it was said, how it was said, and what the state presented, and now what the defense is bringing. And as we spoke a week or so ago about that, as the prosecution builds their timeline, that they would have these bombshells, and then the same would be for the defense, that they'll have their presentation and they'll build up, and their bombshells also would be presented. The first time of I've really felt a little bit better about the process or the state's case was today when I heard one of the attorneys who's watching the trial that he saw a moment of the jury reacting to that the defense's key witnesses regarding the unspent round wasn't as damaging, or didn't damage the state's key witness about the relationship of that spent round and the testing conducted, and that he saw that the defense wasn't able to present a strong case for their side or destroy or take down that expert's testimony. And that's a key thing in my world of watching and have been involved in all the court cases. A lot of times you'll have two absolutely brilliant individuals, uh, pro state and then pro defense, that are up there just battling it out. Both of them are extremely well versed in their fields, and they just hammer it out. And you'll have a jury just write it off. You have a problem when that's not done, because if an expert ever wins one side, then while it may not convince all the jurors, all it takes is one. And so, and if you think it's going to be a guilty verdict, throw it in there in chat. If you think it's going to be a not guilty or a hung jury, I'm still hanging around that hung jury part of it right now because I have questions about the case. And just because I have questions doesn't mean I don't think that they don't have the responsible party. But that's just my opinion. But we'll see where it's going, and we still have time for the defense to bring up some key points that might have a greater impact on the jury. We just don't know yet. But if you have any information regarding this case, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has that, for the fact that we have to have, regardless if this trial ends now or if it results in a hung jury and then we go back to trial eventually, these victims, these families, the state, the defense, everyone deserves to have their day and have all the information. So if you have any of that information, absolutely make sure it's given to the proper authorities. And another thought that as I was thinking about this presentation tonight, that we have to look at other social media platforms and YouTubers. There's some really great YouTube guys out there. Absolutely. I have a lot of respect for them, both pro defense and pro state. And we have to have that. For without these two opposing forces, you've heard me talk about in Georgia of sitting in a barbershop and watching these old timers hash out battles, political views, or whatever it is, even local events, or it could be a major case or a homicide, that they get in this environment. And it's great theater. It's entertainment that you'll see, and you'll see some brilliant minds that are absolutely hammering on and questioning the others' facts, opinions, and ensuring that they get their side in also. And is that what we're seeing with all these YouTube creators? In some form, yes, we are. So I have utmost respect. So we're not going to be attacking any YouTuber out there. Like I said, I have utmost respect for both some of the ones that are pro defense and some of the ones that absolutely are pro state. And we have to have that for the fact that we shouldn't be, just because someone doesn't absolutely worship what our opinions are, we shouldn't look down upon them. We should try to understand their facts, speak through those issues, and try to convince them. Not always possible. There's a lot of things in our world right now that are going on. And but just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on some of the things and what will we do and how will we handle what's coming to the courts, because we have to think about a lot of things. What's happening to these jurors that are having to sit there, and all the pressures, and they're seeing something they never expected to be exposed to in their lives. While we have jury duty, is it really, while it may be the best in the world what we currently have, but is it time to evolve away from these jury pools because we are affecting not just 12 jurors, and you know, you can have 18 or 20 or 24 jurors that, you know, as when you talk to the alternates and things, that what they're having to see and what they're having to experience and what goes on in their lives during this critical, and what they have to live with from this moment on. It's a great burden, and it's not something that there will ever that you're ever prepared for. There's certain things, as far as I had a chosen career that I took, and swore to do certain things and work as hard as I could for justice. But some of these people that are on jury duty and what they have to see and endure for a few weeks, while it may be part of our society and what our understanding of how to get justice, but we need to look at some of that stuff. But anyway, I just want y'all thoughts about where you feel right now. What's the strongest piece of evidence, either for not guilt or not guilt, being guilty, or being guilty, or are we looking at a hung jury? With that being said, before we get started, let's see what's going on in the chat. Hello, Karen Langston. This is the mother of Doug Teal. And if you don't know that case, look it up. She's been fighting for justice for quite a while. Cunningham says, so they reached a verdict today? No. I was just looking at it and trying to get everybody ready that within days, we're going to be on this jury watch, this verdict watch of what's about to happen within our court system. And we're on opposite poles. There's so many people out there that are so vested in their thoughts and the facts of the case as they view them, and what facts really stand out there to each individual. As far as if you're pro-state, what's the biggest one piece of evidence? If you're pro-defense, what is that one bit of information that you have that has convinced you of his innocence, although he doesn't have to prove his innocence? Are you a person that absolutely believes that regardless, and that it's totally, and it's totally upon the state to prove that Richard Allen, the defense has nothing, although, you know, we often see that individuals are held within the system, but our courts are set up for evidence to be brought, arguments to be made, who's to be held while trials come up, and in what situations are they to be held? Can they make bond? Where will they be held for whatever safety issues? And then, of course, we have to look at what each side brings to the table. But anyway, but that's what it is. It's just as we prepare for this verdict, and when that verdict comes, if it's not what agrees with your opinion, what needs to be done, and how will you reflect? How will you carry that your opinion of what you've held out to be, that he's absolutely innocent, he's absolutely guilty, or I don't know, and this is why I don't know, or why I think he may be guilty, the state failed to prove it. Do you have unanswered questions? I have a lot of crime scene unanswered questions, but even those questions that are unanswered doesn't mean that he's either guilty or innocent. Just like, you know, the confessions. Even if you look at it and you have certain individuals say that, yes, he was under psychosis, he was under pressures, and he may have made false confessions. Even false confessions can still be made by guilty parties, and they can also be made by innocent parties. And so we just have to look at all of that. And it's something that that's going to be argued, regardless of what comes up in the next 10 to 20 days with this verdict. Half of the people are not going to be happy with it. And if it's a hung jury, neither side's going to be happy with it, and then the state's going to have to make a decision, which I think that's the path that we're on. That's just my personal opinion, but But I think currently, without anything going on any further, I think we're headed down that hung jury. All right. Anna Lizette says she returned home today and drove through snow. Anna's out on the West Coast. Absolutely beautiful country out there. Hello, Stephanie. Good to see you. But I enjoy that part of the country, but I don't like the cold and I don't like the snow. Yvette, good to see you. There's Barbara Hall. Good to see you. There's CryptX. Good to see you. I saw Barbara Hall was on Southern Gal, and Barbara Hall is starting a YouTube channel. If you don't know who Barbara Hall is, she is the mother of Timmy D's. I'm from memory, I think it's going to be Timmy. Give me the name of what that channel is going to be, Barbara. And so I can't remember the total. I don't want to get it wrong and say it wrong to start with. Cryptex says, Steve, your opinion here. If Richard Allen was faking his psychosis, why was he being medicated? Thanks. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that are on medications. But even if he is psychosis, it doesn't matter. I mean, we have to think also, just for a possibility. It doesn't mean that that from his psychosis, he didn't make false confessions. But we also have to remember that even individuals that are responsible for it can still develop psychosis and still be an offender. And so we just have to figure out that just because psychosis was developed due to his arrest, there's a lot of people out there that I've arrested in my career. And we can look back at the history of other criminals that's been arrested. I mean, even, you look at, Charles Manson and things, he's out there on the edge of, being absolutely a lunatic. And so, and did jail make him crazier? Maybe not. But yeah, you can still develop and still be an offender and get worse. And then due to medication, get better, or get to a change of environment and get better. But and there are certain people that take medications that when I worked when I started my career, part of our duties was giving out medications. And there were people that were medicated that they'd go to the doctor and get their medications. And of course, you try to administer those medications. Did all of them take the medications? No. Some of them used them for cash inside. But I'm not saying that this is what happened here. But certain times people can fake certain issues. I don't know. We have both sides, and we have a tremendous argument of was he faking it or not? And it's only a matter of up to 12 people to decide. And even if they decide that his psychosis was due to his certain conditions within that facility, still doesn't mean that he couldn't be a responsible party. That's all I'm saying. Let's see here. Stephanie says, I think the jury will rule in favor of the state because of the confessions. It is. I mean, it's huge. We're looking at 61 of them. And while there's only, of all the confessions, the one I really give the most value or most weight to is that white van. That without that white van at a critical time, that's huge. Let's see here. Gibbo says, hello, everyone. What's an election? You guys are wild. Yeah. The election. And of course, it's huge right now. That's how come I tried to wait until I thought all the voting precincts would be closed. And so start the show late. Didn't want to take away from it. Plus, there's a lot of stuff going on tonight. Hello, Copper Horse. Cryptech says, Steve, what do you think about the testimony of the FBI cell phone expert today? It is interesting that from the data they looked at, and some of that is that really plugged in. Was that headset plugged in or not? That was first thing that, is that one of the bombshells? And just don't know. I mean, it could be. But that still doesn't mean, because we don't know at that time, and that's high risk. I've always said for the, it's kind of convoluted for the fact that they said the phone wasn't moved. And can you, if it's not being moved, can you plug in it and unplug? And of course, the phone being under, I just don't know. I have no idea. But it is interesting that if that data is supportive of, but the information's out there now, and how will the jury weigh that? Is that going to be something that, because it doesn't say that, just because it was plugged in or unplugged, who could have done that? Of course, if the victims are already deceased, it has to be the offender. And what is the alibi for, and is there an alibi for Richard Allen during that time period? I just don't know. But I know that was something very interesting. Let's see, Mustang 65's here, Copper Horse, Boston Christian. Yeah, Barbara, don't forget to mention what your new channel is going to be. I don't, like I said, I don't, I can't remember off of, or is it Southern Gal? If you know what it is, put it out there also. Cryptic, Steve, in your opinion, what side is presenting the best expert so far? Both sides. I mean, the defense is going, if they got a FBI expert there, a lot of weight would be given to that FBI expert, because the FBI was a part of this case at some point, and everyone likes listening to law enforcement, rightly or not. A lot of weight is given to law enforcement officers that spend a great deal of training and looking into specific fields. If I had to take an opinion of someone that is law enforcement versus some academic also that's just working in a lab, I would probably go with the law enforcement, just due to my that I'm biased. I really trust. I've been a part of that training program and have seen, and spent the hours trying to, whatever your trade is, your trade crafts, and building up those crafts or skill sets to make sure that you're able to do your duties to the best of your ability, because it is a great responsibility to go out there and do these things for the for justice. And so I would probably, as far as the FBI expert for the defense, is probably with the phone data is probably the top one. The for law enforcement, the CSI guy that they came in for review is really powerful. And as far as the unspent round, the state probably had a better professional that looked at the bullet. I think the defense's bullet expert, if they had looked at the bullet physically and not just the photographs, that they would have had a little bit better. And I think they lost some points with the defense when their expert said that while his lab or his office wasn't accredited, that he felt that they met those standards, which is a little bit shortcoming of what you would expect. If it had been accredited and met all the state's accreditations and all those levels, then I wouldn't be thinking that. So I think the states outperformed just a little bit with the professionals versus the defense at this point. Although the FBI is huge. Let's see here. Um, was Kathy back in the courtroom today? I would expect. I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't seen everything that was brought up today. Gibble says that Wallace said that he was self-harming, spitting at guards and threatening them. Yeah, that'll get you some medication. Critic, Steve, your opinion about the conditions Richard Allen was subjected at Westville Prison. You know, I don't think it's at the level and that is being portrayed. We're listening to, and I know that they have video, and that he was under video surveillance. I haven't seen the video surveillance. If I could see the video surveillance, I mean, ultimately, that's the final word on it. But that video surveillance is based upon what is allowed within the court systems. Now, what did he do inside his environment to make it worse than what it would be? Because you can be under constant surveillance, video or otherwise, and maintain certain cleanliness, structure, or you can just absolutely do everything you can to make it into some type of you know, some type of cell from the point that it's unlivable. That you're in control of some of those things for the fact that through your acts of body functions and what you're doing and what your interactions with your foods and whatever is given to you and whatever you do with your body functions, that you can create a certain environment that appears and makes that your living conditions far worse than they would be if you didn't. And so while the videos may show one side of it, it would also show what part that Richard Allen played in creating that the totality of the circumstances that makes people look away from those videos, if that makes any sense. Yeah, Kurtex, he's on a roll about questions now. What is your feeling about the jury's verdict will be? Like I said, I think it's going to be a hung jury. That right now, I mean, the state has presented this part. We don't have the closing argument. It's going to depend a lot about that closing argument. And it's also going to play a huge role about what the defense closing is. And but I'm really right now on hung jury. And Anna, this is exactly right. The legal system is adversarial. That is how, hopefully, truth gets sorted out. Both sides need to zealously defend their points of view, and that's it. And we see that. But now there's, and I have a lot of appreciation for people. You know, I've worked for, and I've dealt with people all across the country. Throughout my life, my career, from extremely important people from my perspective. You know, when you're dealing with people of regardless if they're on social status, if they own these different types of financial institutes, or industries, senators, sheriffs, um, governors. I've met a lot of people in my life, and judges. I've met more judges than probably most people ever will, but these people of great power. They all have an opinion and all have a say, and some of them can be very um, um, outspoken, and they'll have their say, and you have to listen to it. And once they get their say, then they become big kittens. And but it's just part of it. And I've seen these people um, make their points. I've seen these people argue against each other also. These attorneys, I've met some really great attorneys, both from the prosecution side and from the defense side, that you know that they're very prominent, they're very opinionated, and they carry it within their um, social uh, and let's see what's the best way to say this, that within the certain sectors of society that they come from, they hold very prominent positions. They're well respected, um, and you have to respect them for that because they earned every bit of it. And it can't be overstated for how important to listen to these people and try to understand their point of view. Um, and for the typically and generally, they're there to help you to be better informed of their views and where they're coming from. Um, and you'll see that a lot from a lot of these people of that type of background, um, that they really uh, they know what they speak of, and you have to listen to them. And then once they have their say, they'll generally listen to you. And if they don't, then of course um, it's just part of it. But there's a lot of things that goes on in communication that I think that we see the loss of in our society, um, especially with some of the younger guys and ladies that um, they'll just resort to insults or that you're crazy, and they won't listen. They don't have the abilities to debate and try to bring their ideas and their thoughts to the forefront to try to influence or change someone else's opinion. And I hate that. I really do. Let's see here. Okay. Um, Please don't say solitary confinement. He did not spend 1 second solitary confinement. No solitary confinement at all. Yeah, there's a, and that's the thing, is that when we look at these facilities and we look at these environment, no one's, have I seen what solitary confinement, when I first started, the uh, jail that I worked in did have a um, solitary confinement cell that had no power, no facilities, and eventually it was closed, welded shut, and was not part of anything that you could put an individual in. So I've seen solitary, and of course that got shut down late 80s, maybe around 90. And so and then they went to a different type of what is considered or is called solitary. But even under those circumstances, you're still having interactions with the officers, that's making sure that you're okay, checking on you, making sure you're not unconscious, speaking with you, bringing you food, bringing you water, um, and making sure that that's part of it. And but yeah, the solitary stuff is overplayed. That's really not something that happens. Anna says on Reddit, someone from the UK said jurors are given a brochure before duty on horrific crimes. There's a mental health resource number at the end, but it takes months to get a call back. Yeah. Is there a better way of how we're going to handle? Because, like I said, some of these people that are on these jurors, that you have to feel for them, because no one really, you don't ask for jury duty. If you ask for jury duty, what is your agenda? What is the narrative? What are you trying to do? Our system is not for that. Gabriel said, vote guilty. Gabriel, what is the one key point of what you think is of why you be guilty? Anna says, there are several points in this case that bother me. One is get my chair set back up, is the excellent written, complete narrative that is written confession. Who wrote it? Did they ask questions, make suggestions? Yeah. I'm trying to think. I know that there was, I don't know which one that you're talking of. I saw the one where they made the recreation, but it was kind of broken. I haven't seen the complete narrative yet. So if you have that link to that, send to me. Barbara says, oh, he's guilty, Mr. Steve. Cryptic says, a great show with a drunk turkey show. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, the one that was wrote to the warden was a recreation of the one I saw. Now, I didn't see the actual, but I think it was redone by the press that was allowed to view it, from my understanding. Yeah, this is what I was talking about with the FBI expert, that it being plugged in, silenced. That is something that um, doesn't that does lead more to the mystery. That is absolutely, does a phone recognize that, or is there any other type of shorts or shorting that could do that, such as moisture? I just don't know. Cryptic says, I would like to have Barbara as a guest. Absolutely. She's an extremely bright lady and has worked hard for justice for Timmy. Um, and absolutely, she would be a great guest. Here it is. Barbara is, it's going to be Timmy's Legacy. Thank you, Mr. Steve. Like I said, I didn't want to get it wrong. But Timmy's Legacy is going to be her YouTube channel, from what I understand. And I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully she'll have me as a guest at some point. There's a lot of stuff going, and that's something we have to always be mindful of, that that I will be having her as part of one of my shows in the future, but that'll be after a certain point, whenever some of the stuff that we are working on gets passed and gets through the judicial system or through the prosecutor's office. There's a lot of things that go on, especially when we work these cases. Let's see here. Stephanie says, as a nurse, sometimes a patient has to be medicated to help keep them safe at cryptics. That may not always be in a state of complete psychosis. Yes. And as we often know, some intoxicants does make you loose lips, or, you'll state things that you normally wouldn't state when you're not under the influence. Okay, Anna says that I doubt he wrote it. He wrote disconnected information on a form. There is a formal, well-written version, as I understand, that answers all questions, fills in all blanks while he was raving. That would probably be, if that was I think that's going to be more of what is it, Dr. Wallace narrative that she wrote down. I may be um, misinterpreting or linking two different things apart. But I think there was something that she wrote in her notes that is a narrative. I think I heard Mata talking about it today of where she had wrote certain things in her own narrative. And of course, she's a professional therapist, and but he was kind of he wasn't real happy with some of the things that was in it. Boston Christian, the bad man I had to meet, as so kind, nice around the deputies and the detectives. They had no clue who he really was that night. Well, I take that back, but he was so convincing and so kind, John. I don't know what that was going to. Oh, okay. Copper Horse says Timmy's Legacy channel is here. Y'all guys go over there and let's absolutely make sure that we subscribe, share, like, um, for the fact that um, from my understanding, she's got a lot of work that she wants to help bring information to other families that have been down the path that she's had to go through. And so, absolutely, let's support her the best we can, share that information, and hopefully, we get to see her in Southern Gal or whoever her shows whenever they start soon. I'm looking forward to that schedule. Mustang says he hid in plain sight for years, acting normal. It's an act. That's a fair point. Yes, some of these individuals that we see as these offenders can absolutely are monsters pretending to be kind and innocent, and that friends and every now and then you'll hear that with these offenders once they're recognized that there's moments of whereas friends or acquaintances of the offender saw the dark side, saw little glimpses. And so we just have to see. Anna says cryptics 40 years ago, Haldol was used to quiet disruptive patients in nursing homes, called a chemical straitjacket. Now, generally illegal to use that way. Long term, it's chemical lobotomy. Yeah, we had certain drugs that would be given out to across the board, that doctor would give, and we'd have to go do our medical runs back in the day and give them out. And some of them, like I said, they were some people on some. I'm trying to think of what some of those other drugs were. But this was back when states ran mental hospitals also, and which Georgia, they closed all of those down and just released everybody from those, and that of course led to a new part of society living under bridges behind big box stores and woods and things. Absolutely amazing. Oh, so we got some political issues about that there. National Guard's moving to Portland for the unexpected election day riots, or for the expected election day riots. They have ongoing riots, but they expect worse tonight. That's unbelievable. Outside the grid. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Deck says, I love when Steve says, I have no idea. I don't know everything, guys. I really don't. And I try to find out as much as I can. And but and even with some things um, that some of the biggest things and that we have to worry about is that uh, what was it that was stated that some of our biggest um, what is it about what we think we know. Our biggest faults are not what we don't know, but it's what we know for a fact that isn't so, or something along that. And it may have been Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens that said that, or something along those lines. Now, okay, Copper Horse says um, uh, a lot of it is in psych and crisis intervention. Haldol is classified as a major tranquilizer, antipsychotic medication. That sounds serious. Mary Flynn, good to see you. Southern Gals, Timmy's legacy. Okay. Um, I'm already gone. Anyone know who's ahead in the election? You know, um, the last election taught me a lesson. Um, I went to bed um, uh, with one end with the understanding of when I went to bed that Trump was going to be our next president, and woke up, and of course Biden was our next president. And I pretty well feel the same that tomorrow, regardless of who's in office, it's going to be all of ours presidents, regardless if it's Trump or Harris. But uh, you know. Uh, um, Trying to figure out elections now is a higher pay grade than what I can do. Gibbo is asking Copper Horse, what's your opinion on him mentally? If you don't want to answer, I understand. And Stephanie says that it is hot dog can be given to keep patients safe, not just for schizophrenia. That's interesting. Cryptex, thank you. 299 super sticker. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your support. Yes, CJK, I'm a behavior. Um, Boston says, I always feel thankful the deputies and the detectives saw through his little games. Walking into court up the long hallway, the deputies on all sides of him, I was so afraid they were going to get hurt. Um, those officers on those details, I've been on those details myself. Um, they're, um, we know what an individual is capable of, regardless if he's considered innocent or guilty. Those officers that are handling those security details um, don't have the luxury of letting their guard down and treating them in certain manners. Um, it's not, you know, those officers take their duties um, and have a full understanding that if they let down their guard, um, uh, and not only can they lose their lives, but others can also. So when you're dealing with an individual, regardless if he's guilty or innocent, you have to have a certain amount of abilities and control of that individual. And and I agree with this, Anna, that the expert today attacked the ejector mark findings because the round had to be fired in order to make the mark. I agree. Metal heated and expanded when fired can't do it on unfired round. Problem, in my opinion. I wasn't happy with how that had to be done. Um, and now, if there was a lot of wear and tear on that firearm, I can see where certain things could get wore down. I don't know if that's the case. And if it is wore down, that after 4 or 5 years or rusted, that you might have to generate more force than what was. Now, did they make that absolutely clear to the jury? I don't know, but yeah, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy, and currently am not happy with um, uh, the way the testing occurred. And I kind of see the point that it's not apples to apples; it's apples to oranges. So, Mr. Steve, if I do those things too much, will I get medicated? Yes, you'll get medicated. I wonder if Mrs. Allen not been attending because she will soon testify, or maybe because mom needs help after she fell and had a serious concussion. It could be a lot of things. It could be stress. You don't want to go in there and become part of the disruption or taken away from. You know, could the defense attorney said, "Hey, there's a lot of pressure here," or did Richard Allen ask his wife to stay home? That I can't take this as far as work. They've been together for a long time, so there's a lot of things that and a lot of pressures there. Don't know. CJK says, I think the warden should have spoke about Allen's bad behavior at times that resulted in him being dragged by the guards and then the crazy self-harm stuff. You know, the warden really, when you're in a court environment, you can only answer the questions asked. Um, it's not a time that you can really get up there and make speeches or do any of that. It's a lot of yes and no's. And even the yes and no questions are, while they may ask a yes and no question. And I think there was some issue about that today, of where there was someone that was not trying, that would trying to get um, word salad or testimony in, and it wasn't yes and no. I've never been in a position when someone asked me something that was, and they would say yes or no, and I would instruct the court, the judge, that um, while I could answer yes or no, it had to have an explanation of why it was yes or why it was no. And the courts always allowed me to explain the yes or no. I don't know if that would have been a case in this, but I, I've never seen where a judge wouldn't. Steve, if there is a hung jury, does Richard Allen stay in prison or get out until retried? That'll be up to the courts. Absolutely. There would be a motion made um, for bail. Great point, Steve. You should be testifying. Oh no, I don't want. I've testified my share. And that was it. He timed me out the other night for putting a full stop by accident. Oh gosh, I don't. Oh, I don't know. Um, they never show in court in front of the deputies and detectives who they really are. The police officer dispatched to their house early on, will he testify what he saw on that call to their home? So I take it that there was some type of domestic issue. Um, I think it can probably only if it's relevant to the case. I don't know. Barbara said they're already doing fireworks going off for the new president. Like I said, uh, I stayed up during the last election. I think I went to bed like 3 o'clock, and everybody, you looked at it mathematically, and everybody thought, that Trump was the president then. But of course, um, 5 hours later, that was not the case. Yes, True Crime Web. Do they document inmates' behavior problems in jail? Yes, we always did. Even back when I worked in the my first job as a jailer in our jail, um, and if you had inmates that had certain issues, you had reports and you filed, and of course you had certain guidances of why we could put people in solitary confinement, and it was truly solitary then. But it took, um, it was only the worst of the worst. I mean, it was people that was extremely dangerous, not only to themselves but others. But that got closed down too. Steve, any thoughts about the FBI being kicked out by ISP? Um, is that possible? Absolutely. There's always, but why would they? If they did so, that was ISP's loss. And for the fact that you're looking at one of the greatest labs in the world, the FBI lab. You're looking at resources that, they can bring in every specialized expert from across the country to look at something. And I've been in a lot of evidence rooms, and the most secured evidence area I've ever experienced was at the Washington, D.C., when I took some evidence up to their lab there. Um, the protocols of getting evidence into that area was made everything I had ever seen. So that while we thought we had everything under control and secured, we had a whole new respect for what the FBI would do. And so it's amazing. But if they threw out the FBI, I think that's a loss for ISP that will probably come back to haunt them. There's True Crime Talk with Frank Noster. Stephanie and Frank are chasing each other. Let's see what's going on. CJK said that Ruckus had a great point earlier. The state oversees mental health protocols, not the confinement system. He would know more because he was in the correctional since I was. My career, while we were both in law enforcement, he was in the some of the correctional institutes after. I started back in the 80s. And there's a lot of difference between the 80s and now. Hello, Roxy. Steve, if the BG still image was altered by AI, can we use that image to do any type of comparison side by side? I wouldn't expect so. I always have feared. I remember the protocols of when we first went into digital um, technologies. When I first started law enforcement and crime scene processing, everything was 35 millimeter. Even trained us how to develop our own film if we needed to. But then the digital age came along, and while we were transitioning into the digital, for every digital photograph that we took, we had to take a 35 millimeter so that because digital could be edited. And now that we have this AI stuff, I've always, I fear it, but I know that technologies will take care of it, that there will be certain protocols put in to guarantee that um, the courts and the professionals that are reviewing these images will know if AI is a part of it and what exactly did AI fill in. That, if you can flip back and forth and see how severe or how much data has been added, because if AI comes in and puts in 75% of something, whereas if AI only puts in 3% of something, it's two totally different uh, perspectives and concepts. So, um, but that'll get worked out in the courts. Yeah, the confessions before the discovery, and then of course we didn't have anything about the white man, regardless of discovery. Hello, Phil Bond. Mustang 65, justice for the floor four, absolutely. And Sammy Day, thanks for all your work and time, Steve. Thank you for your support. Appreciate that. Means a lot to us. I'm getting ready for winter. I've got a lot of stuff to do. I have always considered my civic duty to serve as a jurist. The people's power to nullify is paramount. Yeah, nullification. That is something else I haven't included in there. Um, and does it occur? It can. I think I can only. I'm trying to think of what case. I know at some point through my training and other some point in my life, I've heard of at least one time that there was a case nullified by a jury, and I can't remember what case it was. It jumped, guys. I hope I didn't lose anything. Let's see. The well-written confessions answer every question about the crime, but some of the answers sound created. In my opinion, to get such a coherent narrative, RA would have been questioned. Like I said, I don't know which one that is. I'll have to see that. Yeah, everybody cares about Farmer. I like Farmer. He's extremely intelligent and bright and funny. Thank you, Anna. Says I just subscribed to Barbara Hall's channel for Timmy. Thank you, all y'all. If I would appreciate it, I've got to subscribe too. Oh man, now we used to. This was a big thing back in the day. Farmers Right here on Thorazine. That was one of the drugs that we used to dispense um, quite a bit, especially for some of our more active um, individuals. Yeah, the when they closed those down, it was absolutely a nightmare. Still is. Uh, Steve, did you consider a hunting scenario in this case, meaning the offender being a hunter? Um, I always looked at anyone that would go out and attack two children as a predator. Now, uh, we see within the trilogy of certain types of offenders, especially serial offenders, that they were predators of other animals, and they would escalate through the animal kingdom of different animals until they got to the ultimate, the human. Um, and so I don't separate really um, uh, active recreational hunters such as bird hunter, rabbit hunter, deer hunter. Um, that that type of predator, while he may do those, um, is not really a part of anything. And because we have to look at Ted Bundy and some of these other individuals that probably never hunted any type of wildlife that you had to get a license for, but they would, um, or they had came up through that trilogy of doing certain things, and including abuse of animals and of those. That's just my 2 cents on it. Robert says Trump seems to be leading. Oh, man. Oh, goodness. Justice for Jane says, hopefully the jury will render a guilty verdict. Remember, they live in that area. Many of them may have daughters. I wouldn't let him walk. No way, in my opinion. Fair enough. Oh, CJK says, we have state hospitals. Sometimes they are full and then try to get the crazy person into living facilities for special need adults. It's not the same thing. And the staff aren't trained to handle. Man, we had a local special needs adult facility. You're right on that. Okay. Justice says that the video is the smoking gun for them, for for her. Um, Robert says, did anyone see the Nancy Grace tonight calling out Andrea Burkhart by name and crime night, truth and transparency, families being or defamation lawsuits concerning Kelsey and family being blamed? I just don't understand some people. Hello, Bridget. Good to see you. Hello, Solar Chef. Without very strong evidence one way or another, this case can go on forever. It's justice for none if this case becomes a multi-part, multi-year docu-series on major. It seems that all our major cases are going that way, doesn't it? Tonight is like a combination of Christmas Eve and the night before a colonoscopy. Steve, I'd have a hard time answering if I couldn't explain it as I saw fit. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that if you have something that you can't explain by yes or no, you just address the court and say, Your Honor, I need it's more than just yes or no. And I've never had a judge that wouldn't allow me to get in do that. Let's see. Bridget says, Steve, how do you think the case is going from what you've seen? Um, I've been disappointed a couple of times with the state's presentation. I really have. Um, I think we um, victims, society deserves better. Um, you know, while I still think that they have the right individual, um, I think that a better job could have been done. And without the bombshell of the of white van, I would absolutely be that hung jury 100%. If not, um, uh, that the state didn't prove. But with the white van and with the failure of the defense's attorney to knock out the bullet, I think that will haunt the defense's case, and that's their best chance at a guilty verdict. But I still see a hung jury. I could be, and I'm probably absolutely wrong, but it won't be the first time. Farmer says, doesn't any online illegal pornography in the like fall under federal if they so choose? I think if it's at C-Sound, absolutely. Shelley has been a member for 25 months. Thank you. Says, hey, Mr. Steve and everyone. Glad you're here. Yeah, there was something else that has never been surfaced or been explained as Doug Carter's alleged trip to France during the Wabash River search. There was a, he even in one of his interviews said that he had tips coming in from all over the country and all over the world. Hello, Purple Haze. Everything's well. Good to see you. Anna says, she also says, hey, Purple Haze, all is well with me. I drove through snowstorms today and survived. That's a good day. Absolutely. You don't want to be riding with me driving through a snowstorm. Anna says, even if found not guilty, RA's life is ruined. He will never fully recover from experiences in locket. Fair enough. Yeah, I remember, like I said, Thorazine was a thing back then. It was, we gave it out. Um, it was probably the number one um, that was handed out to a lot of people that was in state hospitals that we would transport from our facility to the state hospital. Yeah, I'm with you, Shelley, that about him being the one and only. Um, now, do I, I know that certain law enforcement officers and even the CSI guy that was out of Tennessee, or that expert that had taught at Tennessee, I believe he's from Indiana, but and that he still had questions also. Ain't no angle. Why would Andrew be added to Nancy Grace naughty list? I've never heard her say anything like it. I have no idea. Um, Question, Mr. Steve, what do you think is the strongest evidence? Um, well, knowing the white van went by, is probably my biggest thing that I see if of his confession, knowing something that no one would know, and I haven't heard of anyone explaining how he would know that fact. And so that's probably my top. The next one to it is the bullet. And then under that, the totality of the circumstances. And, but it will be, can the prosecution bring all of that together in their closing and make that strong of a message that is clearly understood by all the jurors. Aquarium 1, good to see you. Ant No Angle says, I think he would be found not guilty. It's fair enough. And I says, this is a horrible situation, not what I was hoping for. I thought the state had a lot more than we knew. I did also, and they did. If you didn't know about the bullet, which is huge, I'm not really happy with how the testing was done. But then the defense failed. They failed Richard Allen if they couldn't get someone that was accredited, and that tells me something. Why would you not get someone accredited? There's experts across the country that are accredited, and that could have analyzed that bullet. Why not? I just don't make no sense. Aquarium 1 says, Mr. Steve, do you have the link for Barbara Hall's channel for Timmy? Thank you. Mods or someone out there, please put up Timmy's channel again. Thank you, Copper Horse. And everybody, while you're here, absolutely go over to Barbara's channel, Timmy's Legacy, Timmy, apostrophe S, Legacy, Legacy. It's on YouTube.com at Timmy Legacy. All right. Yeah. Let me see if I can. There's Timmy's Legacy. No, that's not Timmy's Legacy. Here's Timmy's Legacy. Nightbot. Aquarium 1 linked Timmy's Legacy YouTube right there. And so go over there to that. Absolutely. And I appreciate everybody being here tonight, guys. Y'all stay safe out there. And but before y'all leave tonight, if you would go over there, make sure you sign up to Barbara's channel. And look forward to seeing y'all soon. And I'm looking forward to see who our next president is tomorrow morning, guys. Y'all stay safe. See you soon.